Our mission: to give you, young people, a chance to experience adulthood. Man, they make it almost sound noble. That's what I thought as I scrolled through about page section of idlord.com, a site based on China, I believe, that sold fake IDs like hotcakes. It was surreal, looking like at something like this. Some site that sells phony driver's license to kids with inspiring sales copy. I was 18 at the time, and four of my friends and I wanted to get into those group deals on fakes. $60 per person, something like that. If you went solo, it was north of 100. And since all of us were on board right at the hell, after doing some research on some shady sites would be best to conduct info on your fake, I was ready to place my order. Step 1. Use your real first name, but a fake last name. This means that the bouncer won't toss you to the curb after your friends have been calling you Jake the whole time, even though the name was on the ID says Fabio or some shit. Fake last name, well, come on. No need to explain the reason for that. My real name is Jacob or Jake Dalton, so I use the name Jacob Norman on my fake ID. Step 2. Use the age 21. Although it's generic, it's a common age, and there are a lot of people who are in fact 21. No need to stretch your age. Step 3. Your picture. Make sure there's even lighting. I actually once knew a guy who got busted because his photo ID, his face was covered in the shadow. He had no idea. And why would he? He was just a stupid 16-year-old. Step 4. The signature. Just make it look like you're not in kindergarten. Oh, and make sure it's the fake name you came up with, and not your real name. Step 5. The address. These trips some people pull up, and some people make up completely fake address. But then they don't remember it when a suspicious bouncer asks them. Instead, use your actual house number so you can remember it. And then make the street a fake one, and change the state to whichever your ID state says. Okay, easy enough. So I got my fake ID in the mail, checking the mailbox profusely over the next couple of weeks to make sure my parents didn't intercept my package. And it looked great. I live in Asheville, North Carolina, and my fake ID was a Tennessee driver's license. In the state which borders I live at 308B, so the address on my ID was a place in Tennessee called 308 West something. Easy to remember. My friends and I, or I should say Jake Norman, had a blast on Friday night. We got past bouncers and we bought some cases of beer. We got into the bars and shots with our cash tips we had gotten at work. It was great. My friend Sammy and I were chilling the following day. Saturday afternoon, we were sort of hungover and a bit bored, just watching stuff on YouTube and reading stuff on forums. As we got to the 4chan, we had to come up and find for the thread for the ID Lord, the site we got our fakes from. We decided to click on it, see how other folks made it out with their fake ID experiences. There were a little minor complaints. The UV is a little high and the signature looks stretched. There were glowing reviews though. And then we came across something that was a bit odd. There was a subthread which titled, "The address I made up for my ID is a real address?" Anyone who notices that followed were half a dozen comments claiming the same thing. Naturally, Sammy and I went and looked up at the address that I made up. There it was on Google Maps, 308 Whitebrook Lane in Tennessee, no less. We thought maybe the ID Lord used a real addresses for realism, but surely that'd be illegal. I am no law student, but that seemed like a form of impersonation. But there was one thing that really caught my attention. Few of the commentators claimed that the houses that had money stashed in the floorboards, lots of it. People came up with theories as to why this might be. The most convincing was that maybe the houses were drug houses used by the same cartel that sold fake IDs. Well, being broke high schoolers, Sammy and I were soon en route to the address, which was only a few hours from my house. It was sunset by the time we arrived, and the house was a 2-story home in the hood, and it had a chain-link fence surrounding the property. A large oak tree stood in the backyard, looming over the house as if protecting it. Beyond that were some woods that stretched onto the next neighborhood over. Sammy and I got out of our car and headed for the property. The chain link gate creaked as we opened it and stepped through. We walked through the overgrown dandelion-filled grass and went up to the doorsteps and opened the screen door and knocked. No answer. We knocked several more times and still no answer. "Dude," said Sammy, "let's fucking go in and look for the money." "Hell yeah," I replied. We went inside. The place had furniture in it, and it seemed as though someone was still living there, but so everything was covered with a thick layer of dust, and they were never more than 3 feet from a cobweb, so we clearly fairly certain that the house hadn't been lived. Still, we had our doubts. "I don't know, man," I said. "We might be trespassing." "Look," said Sammy, "I ain't passing up on a boatload of money, so let's tear this place up and find it. Get out of here. No one else has lived there for years. Look." Sammy ran his finger across the mantel, displaying the wad of dust that had been snowballed onto his fingertip. "See?" he said. Yeah, I replied. "All right, let's go get it." We tore through the place up and threw out the couch cushions, rummaged through the drawers, peeled away the molding, put holes in the walls. It was dark now, and we were about ready to give up and go home. That's when we heard something. It sounded like a television. "Shit, dude," I said. "Is that a damn TV?" Sammy and I stared at each other with our jaws agape. Our shocked open mouths were pits of darkness. Our eyes were bug eyes. The sound of the TV was coming from upstairs. "You think someone just left it on?" Sammy asked stupidly. "Oh my god, dude," I sighed. "We're screwed. Probably some old person who can't hear a thing." Only one way to find out. Sammy and I crept upstairs. Each step creaked, and each time it did, we winced like it had been pinched. Whatever was playing on the TV was a commercial, but I was pretty sure that it was a super long commercial because it sounded like the same voice had been talking for the past few minutes. We got up to the top step, and I, at the forefront, peeked through the corner and gazed down into the dark hallway. The hallway stretched for about 20 feet, and there was a door at the end. Blue light flickered beyond it. "The TV, I presumed?" I whispered. Sammy and I crept down the hall. "Excuse me," I called. Sammy hushed me and slapped my shoulder as his eyes went wide. "What the hell are you doing?" he hissed. "We're sorry for being in here," I said, ignoring Sammy. "We thought the place was empty, so we got the wrong house and—" My voice adrift as we listened for a response. Nothing. We arrived at the end of the hallway and pushed the door open. The room was empty, but what was played on the TV was truly haunting. The TV was an oscillation type informal, and with some guy shouting at the camera in the excited way. "At ID Lord, we value you," the salesman shouted. "You to create your own new legal age, new you that gets you to party with adults, get into clubs and order a beer, at least at your favorite bar. Get together for a group purchase and get 50% off your..." Sammy and I looked at one with big eyeballs. "What the fuck?" I asked. "Look, let's go," said Sammy. We turned around and there he stood, or should I say, I stood. It was me, even in the shadows. I could see that it was me stood across from us. Neither of us had a twin or something that occurred that was beyond my comparison. I couldn't speak. I could barely breathe. I went to the state of paralysis by fear. Me, the other me, wore the same clothes that had been wearing my fake ID photo. The hair that was the same too. Something else matched too. The facial expressions. When I had gotten my photo taken, I just gave a little half smile, and that was the expression the other me had plastered onto his face, unmoving, unblinking, not even a twitch. Who are you?" I asked. He's still holding the same face expression. The other me then spoke. "You know who I am." You're me." "No, you're Jake Dalton." "Yeah, I'm Jake Norman. I was gonna pay you a visit tonight, but it looks like you came to me." Before Sammy and I could do a thing, Jake Norman lunged for Sammy. My evil clone pounced on him like a tiger, a bit into his neck. Oh God, the gargling noise that erupted from Sammy's throat, with a mix of screaming and bubbling blood. "Sammy!" I shouted. I tried to pull Jake Norman off of him, but the clone was as firm as a statue, and pulling onto him was like trying to uproot one from the ground. I backed away and got ready to run. just as Jake Norman lifted his bloodstained head and glared at me. I shrieked and booked it down the stairs. I glanced over my shoulder just in time to see me roll onto his back, propped himself up, and proceeded to walk the spider walk after me. I flew down the stairs, and the other me did that freaky spider walk down the steps, faster than my inhuman could go in that position. I yanked the door open and ran to my car. I hopped in, and as I put the keys in the ignition, Jake Norman slammed his face up against my window and pressed onto the glass, hissing as his tongue ran through along the glass. I started up the car and sped away. I went to the police immediately, and I told the cops to go to the house. They said they'd find his body. When they did, they found nothing, not even a bloodstain. I suspected for Sammy's disappearance. I eventually was extraordinary, but everyone looks at me as if I did it. I know what everyone's thinking. They think I'm a murderer, think I'm going to have to move, probably to another state. But for at least those are the least of my worries. Jake Norman is still out there, and my God, he's coming after me. I know sooner or later he'll come looking for me, and he'll find me. Fact is, I would have been better off in prison. Well, I went to my address on my fake ID, creepypasta written by Jake Wick. My final thoughts on this story? It was a pretty good story. I actually really thought it was a pretty good one. I honestly thought it was a pretty good story for what it is, especially with the concept and the fact that everything just went from 1 to 100 pretty quickly. It's a pretty interesting story, involving someone, getting a fake ID, go to the exact address from another state. I mean, that's kind of a little messed up, but it's also a bit creepy. Now to think of it, it actually kind of sounds creepy going to your address on your fake ID. I mean, the whole of it was just really interesting because I never really expected it to go down that quickly, dark and crazy, but it just did. And well, I know the story is pretty good for a good concept for what it is. And I do appreciate the good storytelling that this author wrote. Now, I could definitely say that there was a good grammar, good sentence structuring, and storyline. Everything about this one was just flat out amazing. And I honestly gotta say, it's a pretty awesome story. I personally really liked it. I thought it was, it was pretty neat. I mean, I've seen a few narrators narrate it, and I think I did see Mr. Creepypasta narrated, or maybe was that Seabass. I think it might have been Seabass that I actually, took a look at this story. So, with that being said, the good cons of it was like the way it went out, because you never know what could happen if you go to the address on your fake ID and then shit hits the fan. It's obviously really creepy now coming to think of it. Now, I did see Nature's Temper narrated this one as well, and I don't remember if another narrator did it. I think it might have been I don't know if Gory Parodies narrated this story or not. I think she might have done it, but I can't remember. It's been like so long. But the whole story was just pretty amazing. I mean, it was a great story. I personally liked it. So Jake Wick, if you're, watching this video, I want to say you did a great job with this story. This one was flat out amazing. The grammar's good, sentence structuring's good, paragraph structuring, the way the story was written was good. So I gotta say you did a lot of great concept with the story, and you did a good job with this. So I gotta give you props to that, dude. Okay. Now, with that being said and that being the case, this is just simply my own personal opinion, and if you happen to disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regards to these creepypastas, and this is just simply my own personal thoughts. I'm going to give this story a 10 out of 10. It's really dark, but it's still a pretty good story, and I personally loved it. So, I guess with that being said and that being the case, what did you guys personally think of this story? Did you enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what we have done personally to help make this story a lot better. Feel free to let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. And as always, I'm going to say right now that I'm the Lion Queen. Thank you so much for watching today's video. And if you're new to my channel, feel free to leave a like, Comment and subscribe if you're new. Ring the bell for notifications to when I upload, so that way you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, I'll be seeing you all in the next video. Peace out, and like always, please roll the outro because I'm out.